Hello guys, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be going to explain you a horror, thriller movie called Orphan. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie starts with couple, Kate and John. Kate is taken to a hospital, because of labor pain. While John registers at the front desk in the lobby, Kate is wheeled towards the delivery room. She tells the nurse that it's their third child. Kate sees blood on the floor, but the nurse pushes the wheelchair as if nothing is happening. The nurse tells her that the baby is stillborn but they have to deliver it anyway. The doctor grabs his scalpel and begins to cut into Kate's stomach. Later a baby's cry is heard, and the nurse hands her a stillborn baby covered in a bloody blanket. Upon seeing that, Kate screams in horror, but we find that it was just Kate's dream, but in reality also the couple had lost their third child. Due to the incident, the couple married life was also disturbed. The next morning, Kate goes to see Dr. Browning, her therapist, because of her being alcoholic. In the next scene we see the couple, two kids, 5-year-old daughter Max and 12-year-old son Daniel. Max was deaf. Because Kate wanted to take the love she had for Jessica and share it, the couple decide to adopt a child. The next morning they visit the St. Mariana's orphanage for girls. They are greeted by Sister Abigail. John hears a girl singing, and sees a young girl sitting alone in a room, painting. The girl introduces herself as Esther. The couple then decides to adopt her. Sister Abigail tells that despite her being from Russia, she speaks very good English. Esther is a rather mature 9-year-old and says that she is very smart and very polite as well. She also mentioned the couple that adopted her died in a fire accident. John and Kate take Esther home, and Max rushes out to greet them. Esther uses sign language to greet her, and Max takes an instant liking to her new sister. However, Daniel feels odd. He feels jealous, because his parents were giving more attention to Esther than him. In the next scene, while John and Kate were getting intimate, Esther enters their room and tells that she is afraid to sleep alone because she is scared of the lightning. The next morning Esther comes downstairs wearing a dress that is old-fashioned, which causes Max and Danny to laugh a little bit. The three then go to school. A girl named Brenda teases Esther because of her dress. Esther says nothing, only stares coldly. Scene shifts and we see Danny is shooting paintballs. When a bird lands, he shoots the bird on purpose. He feels bad and rushes to see if it's alright. Suddenly Esther and Max shows up. Esther picks up a large brick and asks Danny to put it out of its misery, but Danny refuses. So Esther takes the brick and beats the bird to death. Next morning Esther is passing down the hall at school. Barbara hits her, and she bullies her, but suddenly Esther shouts like an insane. At night while Kate and John were having rumpy-pumpy, suddenly Esther comes there and sees them, due to which the couple feels embarrassed. The next morning Kate goes to Esther to talk about last night, but she was shocked that Esther already have knowledge about these things. While Kate is suspicious, John tells her that she must have learned these things from the previous parents. Next day, John takes the kids to park, where Esther sees Barbara. She stares at Barbara, due to which she feels nervous. As she looks down the slide, Esther comes from behind her and pushes her off, due to which her ankle breaks and it hurts her a lot. Esther realizes that Max had seen everything. At night John and Kate ask Esther about the incident. She says that Barbara slipped. On asking Max, she also says the same, that Barbara slipped. Daniel then notices Esther eating weirdly. Daniel fights with Esther. John and Kate then tells Daniel to apologize to Esther, but Daniel leaves the table. As a punishment, John locks up Danny's treehouse and says he will unlock when Daniel apologized to Esther. Later Kate gets a call from Sister Abigail. Kate tells her about Esther and Brenda accident. A few days later, Sister Abigail comes for a visit after being informed of Brenda's accident. As Kate and John speak with Sister Abigail about the accident, Esther panics and goes to Max's room and tells her that a mean lady is coming to take her away and asks Max for help, and Max agrees. Esther then takes Max to John's room, and they look for treehouse key. They also take a gun with them. The two then follow Sister Abigail's car. Esther tells Max to stand in front of Sister Abigail's car and wave her hands to get her to stop, but Max is nervous. When her car approaches near, Esther suddenly throws Max in front of her car. Sister Abigail slams on the brakes and her car swerves off the road. She gets out of her car to ask if Max is okay, but suddenly Ether attacks her from behind with hammer. She brutally beats her until she dies. Seeing all this, Max gets scared. Esther says that if she is caught for the murder, then Max will go to jail with her, and tells Max that she won't tell on her if she doesn't tell on Esther. Max agrees and Esther comforts her. The two then head to the treehouse, where Esther hides the weapon and clean the blood from her face. Daniel sees the two coming from the treehouse. Esther spots him but walks away anyway. Later at night Esther goes to Daniel's room while he was sleeping. She holds a cutter blade to his throat and asks him what he saw. He replies them he only saw them coming down from the treehouse. Esther says that if he tells anyone then she will castrate him. Danny, frightened, wets himself. Next day Kate takes her to the counselor, but she manipulates the situation towards Kate. The counselor then tells Kate that she is not providing the comfort level to Esther. Kate and John argue about Kate not giving attention to Esther. After few seconds, Kate receives a call from the orphanage, where they tell that Sister Abigail is missing from the day she visited their home. Later the police find Sister Abigail's body. This makes Kate curious and worried. She decides to research about Esther's past. She calls Sister Abigail's orphanage. They find no records of her from Russian orphanage. Later at night, Esther gives Kate flowers she took from Jessica's grave. This makes Kate angry. Kate snaps and grabs Esther by the arm, and Esther lets out a scream. Hearing, John comes out to stop them. Kate starts crying in front of Jessica's grave, while Esther on the other hand sneaks into the tool shed, grabs a screwdriver. She wraps it in a rag and places it in her mouth, and then places her arm inside of a vise. She tightens the vise until her arms break. She then goes to her bed, and cries until John comes. She tells John that her arm still hurts from where Kate grabbed her. John tells Kate that she broke her arm, but Kate argues that she didn't really grab Esther that hard. John then tells Kate to go downstairs. She then goes to buy wine, but can't bring herself to drink, so she pours the wine down the sink. Next morning Kate goes to drop the kids to school. Daniel books falls down, so when Kate goes to give him books, Esther releases the brake and sets the car to neutral, due to which the car rolls down a hill, and Danny quickly warns Kate because Max was still in the car. Kate chases the car, but it hits a huge piles of snow. Luckily Max was unharmed. At night John calls Dr. Browning to their home. John tells Kate about the wine bottles Esther found. Kate defends herself and says that she thought about drinking the wine but poured it down the sink. Dr. Browning tells Kate that they need her to send to rehab. This makes Kate angry. John then says if Kate doesn't go into rehab he will divorce her and take the kids with him. Max listens in and Esther comes really close to her and whispers that she will shoot mommy if she tells. Daniel then goes to Max's room and asks her if she knew anything about Esther. Max shows her painting of Brenda's accident, Sister Abigail death and car incident. She also tells him about the hammer and Esther bloody clothes that she was hiding in the tree house. Danny tells Max that once they get the hammer and her bloody clothes then John and Kate will believe them and Esther will be locked away. But we see Esther overheard the whole thing. Next morning while searching Esther's room, Kate finds Esther's book. She also finds a logo of Sarn Institute in the book, so she calls them, believing that it must be previous orphanage of Esther. But they reveal that it's not an orphanage, it's a mental hospital. Scene shifts and we see Daniel seeks to the tree house and look for hammer and clother but he can't find them. Suddenly Esther appears and throws the hammer and the clothes to the floor. She tells him that Max will be arrested too for helping her, but Daniel says that Max was forced to do it. She sets the evidence and the tree house on fire. She escapes and locks the tree house up with Danny still inside it, and simply watches with a smile as Danny screams for help. Danny falls from the tree and it leaves him unconscious. When Esther was about to kill her with the brick, Max pushes her from behind. Kate then comes and takes Daniel to the hospital. After a while, doctor tells them Daniel is now stable. Kate asks if he will remember anything, and the doctor says they'll have to wait a while before they know. Kate then tells John that it must be Daniel or Esther who started the fire, but John doesn't believe her. Kate then tells she will go to rehab on one condition: if Esther leaves the house at same time. Esther then asks Max's grandma for $1 to use soda machine, but instead of going to the soda machine she sneaks into Danny's room, removes the heart monitor from his finger, and she tries to suffocate Daniel. While Max, getting the feeling that Esther is up to something, goes to get Kate. Esther thought she killed Daniel, so she puts heart monitor back on his finger and alarms go off. The doctor rushed to save Daniel. Fortunately Daniel was saved. Kate freaks out and knows Esther did something. She screams at Esther and then slaps her hard. The nurse then sedates Kate, and John comforts Esther. Kate then wakes up, dazed. Kate tells John to make sure Esther will get nowhere near Max. John then takes the girls home. At home John puts Max to bed. Esther wishes her sweet dreams but she steals her hearing aid. Later, John drinks a lot of wine due to which he gets drunk. Esther comes downstairs wearing dark makeup and a strapless dress. Esther tries seducing him but John is so drunk that instead of getting angry, he sobs openly and tells Esther that he is scared for Daniel. When John comes onto his senses, he yells at her and tells her to go to her room. Scene shift and we see Kate gets a call from Russia. Dr. Varava reveals that Esther is not a 9-year-old girl. She is a 33-year-old grown-up woman, and her real name is Lena Klemmer. Dr. Varava also reveals that she was one of their most violent patients. She is suffering from hypopituitarism. It's a rare hormonal disorder. Because of that her physical growth has stopped, and she fools people as little girl. He says she disappeared a year ago and they lost track of her. She has killed at least 7 people so far, which also include her previous foster family. She tried seducing her father and upon stopping she burned the house. Doctor tells Kate to call police because they are in great danger. Scene shift and we see Esther removing her fake teeth and taking off her makeup. Later John goes to Esther's room and sees Esther's painting that were disturbing. Just as the lights go out, he goes downstairs to the electric panel, but he is stabbed by Esther repeatedly until he dies. She sees that Max has witnessed the whole thing. Max runs off and hides in her room. Kate then rushes home. She also calls the police on the way. At home, she finds John's dead body and breaks down. She then searches for Max, but Esther finds Kate and shoots her in the shoulder. Max then hides in the greenhouse. Kate reaches the rooftop of greenhouse and tries distracting Esther. She then breaks windows and jumps on Esther. Esther gets unconscious. Kate grabs Max and runs. She takes Max down to the pond and comforts her, just as she sees police cars pull up to the house to arrest Esther. But suddenly Esther attacks her from behind. Max grabs the gun and aims at Esther, but instead she shoots the ice, due to which the ice cracks and breaks, and both Esther and Kate fall into the freezing water. They both fight underwater with a knife. Kate kicks Esther's neck, due to which her necks break, and she sinks into the icy water. Kate then escapes with Max and the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed the explanation. Please subscribe for more videos like this.